Hi, it's me, Jazzy. I'm back with another tech-related video, and today I'm going to take a look at an easy electronics kit for beginners. Just a nice, easy little kit to solder up. And this is one of the little gadgets that I got on my recent Temu haul, and this is an FM transmitter kit. It's a nice, easy, cheap little kit, and it's a great way to get started in electronics if you want to learn a bit of soldering and learn how the circuits go together. It's a pretty generic kit. It's RF02FM. I got mine from Temu, but I've seen exactly the same kit on AliExpress, so you can pick them up really cheaply. Once we put the kit together, I'm going to use one of my vintage radios from up here to test out the FM transmitter. It'd be great to know if it actually does what it says it does. We looked at the Temu car FM radio transmitter a while back, so it'd be interesting to see if this does a similar job. So let's head over to the bench and have a look what we've got in our little kit. Okay, it's been a while since we've done a kit, so this is really great. This is an FM transmitter kit. You get some instructions here, unfortunately all in Chinese, but it does give you a parts list, which is good, so you can check you've got all the bits you should have. Now, luckily I did find a PDF online of this kit, so that gives you a much better idea of where everything goes. I'll link to that down in the video description. It does give you a schematic though, which is rather nice, and it gives you the values of the components. It's not the worst instructions I've seen for one of these kits. So you've got your PCB here. This is the HYDZ RF02FM, and it's just a nicely made little board. Comes with the wire for the antenna, which is good. And you've got all your components here. So I'll sort these into what I've got. There's loads of resistors. So I will most likely get the resistors in first and then the capacitors and work my way up as I usually do. Get the small stuff on first. So you've got that's your connector for your power going in. There's a little microphone. You can transmit from a microphone or you can transmit from an audio source, which is what I'm going to be doing. There's a 3.5mm jack, which means I can connect something up to that, transmit something out that hopefully I can pick up on one of my old radios. So we've got some coils. We've got one LED. So you can see this is nice and simple. There's a whole bunch of ceramics. We've got one variable inductor to adjust the frequency it's transmitting on, one electrolytic there. We've got a 9014 and a couple of 9018s there. So just 3 transistors, and that's all you need to build this kit. Nice and simple. I use this just because it's handy and it gives me a quick reading. Yes, you could use a multimeter, or you could use something like this Peak Atlas LCR meter. This will check inductors, capacitors and resistors. Either will give you similar results. I find this one's quick and easy because you put the component in, press one button and you've got your result. Whereas with the Peak ones, they are great, but you have to scroll through information sometimes to get what you need, and I just like this one touch on here. So I'm going to use my PCB holder, a little bit overkill, but I find it puts the board at a nice height for me to work on. Now I've got my improved lighting up above. It just makes it that little bit easier to see what on earth I'm doing. That's now at a nice height and a nice angle for me to work on. So that must be the 10k ohms, but I always like to check. It's always nice when you make a kit that it fires up first time. So I just like to double check. Right, so we know that these are the 10k resistors, as we suspected. So I love putting these little kits together. I find they're really therapeutic. Even though this is a pretty simple little kit. This is the sort of thing, if you're just getting started in electronics, you're not too sure where to begin, just get yourself a couple of little kits like this. They're so cheap, to be honest, that even if you do mess it up, just get another one and have another go. Just keep going. Or just get yourself a little bit of perf board like this and just start soldering components in just for practice. Usually the main thing that holds you back when you first get started is the solder. Sometimes the solder that you get with the starter kits is not up to scratch. I'm old school, I still use leaded solder. I just think a decent solder just makes it so much easier to work. I'm not a fan of that unleaded solder at all, unfortunately. Just find it much harder to work with. Everyone's got their own preference, what they like. Everyone's different. That's the great thing about electronics. Everyone's got a different technique. So there's a nice little electronics community here on YouTube. I find people are willing to share ideas. Often in the comments section, people will comment on something. I've put something together and it might be something that I've not thought about, which is great. It's nice that that knowledge is getting shared. So I've done R1, R2, R7, there we go, R10, and one more of these is R11. I guess these little electronics kits, it's almost like paint by numbers, isn't it? Put the right thing in the right place and the circuit will work. There we go, that's all the 10k resistors in, so let's solder those in. That beep is really loud. Using the Yahoo 948D3 soldering station today. Having the PCB holder, which makes a nice height to work at, plus having the improved lighting above me, means I can see a lot easier what I'm doing. When I first started doing these little kit videos a while back, I had a couple of LED lights above me and they were pretty much held up by gaffer tape. Cut these off. I always end up with a whole pile of legs on my bench. I do get around to getting rid of them one day. Okay, so that's where we're at there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in this way because that makes it easier when you want to keep flipping the board over. The other way is great when you have to try and avoid things that you're soldering on right on the edge. So we've got our first 5 resistors in. Right, let's find the value of some of these other ones that we've got here. So we've got another one here. Let's see what this one is. Okay, so 19.61k. So that's going to be our 22k ohm, and that is R8. They've actually put the values on the board as well, which is quite nice. Quite like that. There we go. What's next? What's next? Let's have a look. It's quite a nice change of pace, actually, to be putting a kit together. It's quite a nice thing to be doing, to sit down of an evening and put one of these together. And at the end of it, you've got something useful. So we've got a 458. That's our 470 ohm, which is R9. There we go. Right, so we've got 2 together here. So I am going to make an educated guess that they are 47k ohms. So let's have a look. Because it's the only one on the list that there's 2 of. Let's double check. Just in case, you never know, they might have packed it wrong. They might have put the wrong amount in. You can never be sure. 44k. With a bit of tolerance, that's our 47k, and that is R5 and R6. Right, there's R5. So this would be R6. I think we've only got 2 more resistors. You can see how quickly these little kits build up. They don't take long. It's not a huge amount of components in this one. Fantastic, that's those in. We got 2 left. 98.2 ohms. So that's our 100 ohm resistor, which is R3. And R3 is here. 95.84k ohms. So that's our 100k ohm, which is R4, which has got to be because it's the only slot left. There we go. Now, sometimes you will find that one goes in not quite as neatly as you'd like this one here, which is probably because I was busy chatting away and wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. But as long as you've got a good solder joint, don't worry about it. These things used to offend my OCD, but I find the older I get, the less inclined I am to worry about that. So let's just get these soldered in. Sometimes with these boards from these cheap kits, I find that I have to give them a wipe over with some IPA. Sometimes they have like some residue on the board. This one's actually not bad. Let's add to my leg pile. I've got a camera right above what I'm working on, so I have to be careful not to hit my head on it. Look, I've missed one there. Didn't see that one. Gotcha now though. That's all the resistors in. So I've sorted the ceramic capacitors into types to make them a bit easier to go in, and I'm not ashamed to say I did have to use the digital microscope to see some of these. Some of them are not printed very well, so let's see where they go. So let's start at the top with the 15, and that's going to go in C12, which is right here. We've got 3 30 picofarads, which are C7, 8 and 10. Right, there's C7, C8 and C10. Nice and easy. So we've got 168 picofarad. That's C11, which goes there. We've got 3 101s, which are C6, 9 and 14. 6, 9 and 14 is there. We've got 2 102s. This is 1 nanofarad, C1 and C4. And lastly, the 3 104s, which are C2, 3 and 5. There we go, that's all the ceramic caps in. Now let's get those soldered in, shall we? Now I like to put a whole batch of these in and then do the soldering. If you find that the legs are getting in the way, you can always do them one at a time or a couple at a time. Solder them in and then flip it back over and put the next lot in. There we go, look at all those lovely ceramics in there. Right, what's next? We've got 1 electrolytic. There's only 1 in this kit. And as always, remember the long leg positive. This is C15. There's only 1 electrolytic. That goes in. Just the 1 electrolytic on this kit. There we go. That was nice and easy, wasn't it? Lovely. It's starting to look like something now. Inductors. We've got L1 and L2 are 8T and L3 is a 5T. So we know there are 8T, that's our 5T. So our 5T goes, and we've got our 8T is L1 and L2. So that's L1 and L2. Yeah, we're getting somewhere now. We've got 1 variable inductor, which goes in L4. It's a 7T variable inductor, this one. Look at that, really spread the legs quite significantly on this one. Right, we're there. Yeah. Now, transistors. Transistors, there are 3 with this kit. It should be quite easy to see the numbers on these. That's 9018, 9018, 9014. Okay, so the 9014 is Q1, and just follow the orientation on the board. So it gives you the shape. Sometimes you have to adjust the legs on these so they sit through the 3 holes, but it gives you the general shape of the component on the circuit board. If you've never done one of these before, there we go. So just follow the shape, gives you the correct orientation to get it in. We've got 3 legs to solder on this one. And now we've got our 2 9018s to go in. And the 9018s are Q2 and Q3. Again, might need to slightly bend these out. Q2 and Q3. These ones are all in a nice straight line, these holes. You will often find with transistors, especially the bigger ones, that they're not necessarily in a straight line. That's the 3rd one going in. Beautiful, that's our 3 transistors in place. Don't feel you need to force them down too far into the circuit board, because that can often cause damage to them, especially these little ones. They're a little bit more delicate than some of the bigger, more robust stuff that you find in the consumer electronics. There we go. Transistors are done. So we're making pretty good progress with this now. It's looking very well populated. We've got 1 LED, a red one. Now, as with the electrolytics, the long leg positive. If you're not sure with the LED, you can pop it in the T7 and it'll test it, make sure it works, and it'll give you the correct polarity. So you can see you get the diode symbol there, matches up with your diode symbol on your PCB. Simples. It's like to make life easier, and having some form of component tester around really does make life easier. We've only got 3 parts left. Look at that. Now the little tiny microphone, it does say on the instructions to refer to the pinout for polarity. Now the ground is going to be connected to the case, so you can see this leg here. You can see the track lines going out to the case. That would indicate that it's the ground. If you're not sure, good old multimeter, put it on continuity. You see that pin to the case gives you ground. That pin to the case gives you nothing. So the one with the 3 tracks you can see going out to the outside of the case, that's your ground terminal. If you're unsure, grab your multimeter and give it a buzz. Top tip for the day, and you see on the PCB it's labelled mic, and you can see where the plus is. So the plus is going to be the one that is not connected to the outer of the case. And actually, when you look at it, that makes perfect sense, because the way the holes are put in the board, it means that lines up with the circle. It's quite a beginner friendly kit, this one. So we've got our microphone in, we only have 2 more things to put in. So this is where I'm going to switch my board to this orientation so I can get at this edge a lot easier. So we've got our little connector here. Now this goes in with the angled edge facing in, because this is your terminals. This is where you want to be putting your wires, and that's going to be for your power in. It says it will run on between 3 and 6 volts DC. And the last thing to pop in is your 3.5mm jack. Sits in there quite nicely. So let's get these soldered in. That's enough just to hold that. Let's get this microphone soldered in. Beautiful. There we go. Done. And one last thing that I almost forgot is the wire for the antenna. Use our little stripper here. Clip a bit off. I got a bit carried away there. That's perfect. There we go. Now there's our little RF02 FM all ready for testing. Now I don't know what's more fun, building this or testing it. I guess it's the best of both worlds. Okay, so we're all complete and ready for a test. Our little RF02 FM is looking pretty cool. So this is the transmitting antenna. I've just put a couple of wires in here which will provide the power. I'm just going to run it off my bench power supply. It reckons between 3 and 6 volts is enough for this. So I'm just going to plug this into my convenient power supply here. When in doubt, run it off of bench power. Now, unfortunately, I haven't got quite the right color cables here, because this is all I had to hand. All we need to know is this is the plus terminal, that's the minus terminal. So hook this up. There we go. Now I need an audio source to plug into the 3.5mm jack. So what I'm going to use is one of my little DJ gadgets here. This is called a 1Me, and this enables me to put a Bluetooth signal into this from a device, from a phone or a computer or whatever, and I can audio out into this 3.5mm jack. And all I need to do now is give this some power. And we've got a red LED. Fantastic. That's great. So I've got this set to 5 volts at the moment, as it recommends in the blurb, anywhere between 3 and 6 volts, and a current limited from 15 to 20 milliamps, which we've got. So fantastic. Now all I need is a radio. Okay, so here's the radio I'll be using for my test. This is a Grundig Melody Boy 1000. I've got a few of these old radios in my collection. So I've got the audio source going in. My little gadget is switched on. Now you can plug any audio source into this 3.5mm jack socket. Now this radio is working. Right, we're on FM. Yep, definitely got something there. Fantastic. Now you have got a variable inductor here that you can use to change what frequency it's transmitting it on. It's a little bit trial and error on this. We'll see if we can pick something up on it, shall we? So I've set it for somewhere around here. I think we might need to adjust our variable inductor down a little bit. Right, now let's see if we can pick it up now. Ah, I think we've got something there. Jazz Tech Radio with me, Jazzy, your hostess with the mostess. We are your number. I know this station. We are coming to you live on 208 meters of random cable, holding this station together.
Classic hits and hot new music. DJ Jazzy J, online and in the mix.
And for the 28th week in a row, at #1 spot, the most played tune on Jazz Tech Radio. Yes, it's the Crab Radio. Well, it seems to be working. We're getting a great signal on it. That's not bad at all, is it? Yeah, that's all right. Well, there we go. It's nice to know the little FM radio transmitter kit does what it says it does. It was easy to put together, it didn't take too long, and it does actually send an FM signal over a short distance to be picked up on a radio. So there we go, FM transmitter kits. Great fun to put together and great fun messing about with old radios. So I hope you enjoyed putting the kit together with me. Many thanks to everyone for watching, sharing, liking, commenting and subscribing. It's always massively appreciated. I'll be back soon with some more videos on test gear repairs, electronics kits and retro gaming. In the meantime, take care and I'll see you on the next one.